Wrestling fans are a passionate bunch. Just ask people like Joe Rogan or Tom Segura, who have had run-ins with hundreds of them, when they dared speak ill of wrestling fans themselves or the men and women who make a living in a 20 by 20 squared circle. If there's one thing wrestling fans won't take lying down, it's a perceived outsider disrespecting something a lot of people hold near and dear to their hearts.
Wrestling's not fake!
And thanks to social media, every single fan has a voice to let them know exactly how they feel. Every once in a while, though, a wrestler will fire back at a fan or critic, and the result is usually pretty entertaining. Look no further than MJF and Baron Corbin's Twitter accounts for many examples of fans being taken to the woodshed, as good old JR would say. Recently, myself and a few others had a run-in with AEW's Executive Vice President, Cody Rhodes. I've had many interactions with wrestlers on Twitter in the 12 years I've been on the platform. I've been called a lot of things by grown men who can't handle criticism, but I've never had an Executive Vice President try and insinuate that I was a racist. Until Cody. In today's video, we'll be looking at that very special interaction. The story of Cody and me. Brandi Alexis Reynolds, born June 23, 1983, and known professionally as Brandi Rhodes, is an American professional wrestler, ring announcer, model, businesswoman, and television personality. Rhodes is the chief brand officer of AEW, where she is also signed as an in-ring performer. While working as a model completing her master's degree, Brandi was invited to a WWE tryout in 2011. She signed a developmental contract with WWE in March of that year and was assigned to Florida Championship Wrestling. The following month, she debuted under the ring name Brandi, accompanying Lucky Cannon at an FCW house show. On May 12th, she began working as a ring announcer on weekly episodes of WWE Superstars. On July 11th, Brandi also began announcing duties on NXT under the ring name of Eden Styles. In December, at her request, Brandi was released from her WWE contract. From 2013 to 2016, Brandi returned to WWE as Eden and became the regular ring announcer and backstage interviewer for SmackDown and Main Event. In late March 2015, Eden made her pay-per-view ring announcing debut at WrestleMania 31, as well as becoming the backup ring announcer for Raw while Lillian Garcia was recovering from surgery. On May 24, 2016, Brandi was granted her release from WWE just days after her husband, Cody Rhodes, also requested his release. Between late 2016 to present, she has worked for companies like TNA, Ring of Honor, as well as many smaller indie promotions. In 2019, Brandi Rhodes became the chief brand officer of All Elite Wrestling, a new wrestling promotion co-founded by her husband, where she remains to this day. Cody Garrett Reynolds Rhodes, born June 30th, 1985, is an American professional wrestler, promoter, business executive, and actor. He is currently signed with AEW, where he is an executive vice president, and the inaugural and current AEW TNT champion. Cody is the son of wrestling legend Dusty Rhodes, and the half-brother of fellow AEW talent Dustin Reynolds. After an amateur wrestling career that resulted in him becoming a two-time Georgia State champion, he followed his father and older brother's footsteps into the professional ranks and joined WWE in 2006, initially being assigned to the company's developmental territory, Ohio Valley Wrestling. After becoming a Triple Crown champion in OVW, he was promoted to WWE's main roster in 2007 and remained there for 9 years, performing under his real name and later under the gimmick gimmick of Stardust. During his time with WWE, Rhodes became a 2-time Intercontinental Champion and was a prolific tag team wrestler, winning 6 tag team championships with 4 separate tag team partners. Rhodes left WWE after requesting his release in May of 2016. Following his departure from WWE, Rhodes began wrestling on the independent circuit, also making several appearances in Total Nonstop Action. In the time frame spanning from early 2016 to early 2017, he competed at WWE's WrestleMania, Ring of Honor's Final Battle, and the New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom events, as well as appearing for TNA at Bound for Glory. In September 2017, Rhodes wrestled in Ring of Honor, where he became a 1-time Ring of Honor World Champion. He would later become a 1-time IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion and a 1-time Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team Champion. In September 2018, due to Ring of Honor's partnership with the National Wrestling Alliance, Cody won the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, with he and Dusty becoming the first father and son to win the title. All totaled, between WWE, AEW, NWA, ROH, and New Japan Pro Wrestling, Rhodes has held 13 total championships. On January 1st, 2019, All Elite Wrestling was unveiled during a conference in Jacksonville, with Cody revealing that he, along with Matt and Nick Jackson of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, would serve as executive vice presidents as well as on-air talent. Cody and Brandi met in 2011 while both were employed by WWE. 2 years later, they were married in September of 2013. In August of 2020, Brandi Rhodes took to Twitter to announce AEW Heels. What is AEW Heels, you ask? Well, according to the official website, AEW Heels is a new community for women who love wrestling. The female-forward movement, led by Brandi Rhodes and the stars of AEW's women's division, is designed to celebrate and inspire our female fans around the world. AEW Heels is dedicated to making this the best time ever to be a female wrestling fan. Be who you are and come as you are, because we're all going to come together as a community to change the world. With an annual paid subscription of $49, members receive access to a variety of features including virtual meet and greets, video conference discussions with industry experts, exclusive AEW talent Q&A sessions, customized merchandise, special promotions, themed parties, and more. The secure space enables AEW Heels members to connect, learn, and thrive together through shared passions for women's wrestling. Alright, so they're selling women a safe space for $50 a year. I'd personally never go for it, but hey, it isn't for me in the first place. If it's something female fans are into, by all means, just let them enjoy it. Many fans, however, were very quick to point out the sorry state of the AEW women's division on TV. To say that they're an afterthought would be the understatement of the year. The backlash AEW have gotten over this was only made worse by the company constantly touting itself as the progressive alternative to WWE, where everyone is welcome to shine. The women in AEW have never been given that chance, with matches lasting sometimes less than 5 minutes on TV. A women's tournament was planned and is underway on their YouTube channel, which gets significantly less attention than Dynamite does. This only angered fans of AEW's women's division even more. Putting the tournament on their YouTube channel was poorly received to say the least, and was only made worse by the executive vice president and chief brand officer of AEW, Cody, and Brandi Rhodes. AEW Heels got off to a terrible start. Fans were immediately confused as to what Heels actually was. Was it a club about women's wrestling, or was it about the female fans? Naturally, they reached out to the face of AEW Heels, Brandi Rhodes, for some answers. Brandi didn't handle this situation well at all, and immediately got defensive with her replies. Here we have Brandi who says, it's for female wrestling fans. Many female fans don't like women's wrestling. You don't have to be a member. Now, believe it or not, and I hope you're sitting down for this, but Brandi stating that many women don't like women's wrestling, it didn't go over too well with people on Twitter. Here we have @GuiltTrip13 who says, Brandi Rhodes may be cute and all, but she's wrong. Women love women's wrestling just as much as men's wrestling. Women know that women's wrestling needs more support thanks to the archaic views on it. Fans were also confused as to why women had to pay a fee to feel safe online. Here we have @SaberFaces who says, see, if Brandi Rhodes gave a shit about female fans, she wouldn't make them have to shell out $60 a year to feel safe and have access to content. The people didn't hold back, and they made sure Brandi knew exactly how they felt. Here we have Twitter user Benji Calavera who says, anytime you have free content and change it to a paywall, people will always rebel. Even if it was a one-time payment of $4.99. It just shows me that those in charge don't understand the internet and how to maneuver it, especially when trying to make some money. Here we have @ThatGuyGetIt says Brandi Rhodes isn't cut out to be a businesswoman at all. @WrestlingRamble1 says, good concept, bad execution. I know a lot of people are mad about the $50 paywall because it's basically the price of a pay-per-view, but the way the executive vice presidents have handled the criticism for it has not been ideal, especially with the recent booking of their women's division. And finally, we have just Deadpool316 who says, Brandi Rhodes offering a social media strategy course on AEW heels, then getting salty and spending the next 48 hours arguing with fans over heels. Their women's division and women's wrestling in general is next level tone deaf and hilarious. That last tweet, it wasn't an exaggeration either. For almost 2 days straight, Brandi was arguing with fans, belittling other women, and just handling the situation as poorly as you possibly could. It all culminated with this tweet where she low-key compares the women she's arguing with in the thread to a dog. Truly an amazing strategy for building a safe community for women. Here we have Brandi who says, oh, for the love and lemons, which, by the way, is my new catchphrase. My head is aching. This is not about women's wrestling. It's about community for the fans. Now stop droning on and on and on like that little dog barking next door in the dog day heat. Context is key, reading is comprehension, and I am bored. Ugh, what a Not too long after this tweet was posted, Brandi Rhodes deactivated her Twitter account. Yes, the woman who wants you to pay $50 a year for AEW heels to take advantage of their social media classes deleted her Twitter account over criticism online. Keep your $50. A few days after Brandi deactivated her Twitter account, Cody spoke about the situation after a user said Brandi left Twitter because she couldn't handle the criticism about AEW heels. Instead, the TNT champion revealed that it was because of the amount of N-bombs that were tweeted towards her. Rhodes elaborates. Leaving a social app because you open your phone to an absurd amount of N-bombs is respectfully understandable. No place for that. So, according to Cody, the reason Brandi deactivated was because of the waves and waves of racist tweets she received from fans. Many were skeptical, and I was as well. Those who had been following the drama unfold on Twitter saw a lot of criticism and sure, the occasional over-the-top rude post, but after myself and a few others looked into the situation further, we quickly realized something. Cody Rhodes was full of shit. Alright, so first we'll start off with the tweet that Bubba is quote tweeting and its user @DickVanKlondike. Didn't see any N-bombs as specifically referenced by Cody then at the time, and just did an advanced search and don't see them now. Unless my Twitter is broken or they were DM'd, this isn't true, and I'm pretty sure Brandi's DMs were only open to people she followed. Bubba responds, I tweeted about this the next morning when someone said Brandi was called racial slurs. Did advanced searches of multiple phrases, nothing. Asked to see these tweets and no one could provide them. As someone in the replies to this said, the only N-word used was nepotism. Twitter user @JasonSkyKnight responds with, why do you need proof of racial slurs or reasons for someone to deactivate their account? This is the main reason why I have my profile pics of just me and not me and my blonde wife. So many racial slurs I've gotten from blacks and whites. Bubba replies, I for one don't like racism being used as the reason she deactivated if it wasn't the case. Jason replies, not all slurs are N-bombs, just saying. And he's absolutely right about that. Not all racial slurs are N-bombs, but Cody specifically singled out the N-bombs as the reason Brandi deactivated her account, which is why they were the main focus. Like Bubba, I'm really not a big fan of people using racism as a tool to deflect valid criticism. AEW made many promises to its fans about their women's division, and they simply haven't lived up to those promises. But when you point this out to the people in charge of AEW, they simply can't handle it, and they use very condescending language to talk down to fans. Here we have Cody, who starts things off with, I think it's often easier to make a succinct point using facts and then move on, versus drawing contrarian debate. It's very difficult having large followings on here to have a peaceful convo without anarchist bot accounts protected by anonymity mucking it up. PR is for real life. Twitter user @JeffInRVA responds, I personally think when you have a prominent member of your promotion running around and acting like he can be completely safe during a global health crisis against the recommendation of damn near every public health official, it's worthy of all criticism, peaceful convo or not. He continues, oh, and my name is Jeff, by the way, and I live in Virginia. My profile pic is a cartoon drawing of me and my family, just in case you think I might be an anarchist bot or some other nonsense. Cody's response is genuinely one of the most hilarious and pathetic things I've ever seen someone in a position of power post on their Twitter timeline. Is it nonsense, considering there's an NXT stan mad about losing with a duck profile pic already in this thread? This is an executive vice president of a major wrestling promotion. Twitter user Nerb_76 responds, I assume you're speaking about me, friend. NXT sucks, but at least they showcase women. Keep deflecting. Mad about losing what? You can't crack 1 million viewers. Jeff in RVA responds, I don't understand how AEW is so bad at social media. Cody, you guys really need a consultant or something. Imagine Triple H and Stephanie tweeting like this. I mean, I'm no fan of theirs either, but at least they understand how to deal with their social media presence. Cody responds, I choose to speak with you. Oh, blessed be mere mortals. Our God, Cody Rhodes, has graced us with his presence. As I do with fans and critics, I'd rather be present and transparent versus a third party operating my socials. This is a social app. It ain't that serious. Our success shouldn't offend you. We are just trying to make a great show and win. Be good. I'm sorry. He's a cunt too. Jeff in RVA responds, where did I ever say your success offended me? By the way, I was at the very first episode of Dynamite, so your assumptions are way off. I don't see the transparency when your employees clap back at valid criticism, which comes from social media because that's where we connect with you. This went on for a while. Here we have Twitter user @Nerb_76 who says, success? Under 1 million viewers per week? You have been anything but transparent. You have been an arrogant, condescending prick who can't take criticism. Book your women better. Cody responds, I get this is one-sided, but the show spiked over 1 million 3 times. My entrance, the 12-man, and the debate, just this past week. That doesn't include DVR bumps or AEW Plus or International. Consider that. That's on any record. Very proud, lots of work left to do, and this team can do it. And then we have the big red unpaid critic who says, mention women's wrestling, Cody. It's really funny how Cody keeps ignoring anything related to AEW's women's division. One tweet in particular that stood out was this one. This isn't some random Twitter user. This is the executive vice president of the second largest wrestling promotion in North America. This didn't work out for Cody too well, as people immediately picked up on the NXT stan comment. We have Twitter user here at WrestleCritic who says, I think someone higher than Cody in AEW really needs to have a word about how Twitter is being used there. If you're actively jumping into Twitter with lines like NXT stan at someone that wasn't saying anything that offensive, you don't get to occupy the moral high ground. And I completely agree with WrestleCritic here. He's absolutely right. Unfazed by Cody's assumptions, at Nerb_76 responded with the following. I think this entitles me to a TNT television title match. At Cody Rhodes, your move, friend. I would love to see him on an episode of Dynamite. That would be tremendous television. I saw all the AEW heels drama unfold on my Twitter timeline as it was happening. I watched as the hardcore members of AEW's audience performed mental gymnastics to try and back up the claims Cody made about the racist tweets that caused Brandi to deactivate. AEW has some very sensitive members of their fan base, and they don't react very well to criticism of the promotion or its talent at all, which led me to post the following tweet. Is anyone surprised that the AEW faithful are some of the most insufferable wrestling fans of all time? Look at how the talent act on here. Twitter user @FilesCrime replied with the following. Right about now, I feel pretty ashamed to be a fan of AEW. I respond, great PR, champ, and I tag Cody Rhodes. Now that last tweet, for some reason, it caught the attention of Cody Rhodes himself. I mean, sure, I tagged him, but I never expected him to reply. Oh, and reply he did. Since I had his attention, I figured I'd ask him a few questions. The first one was a joke, considering I was watching him get very defensive with fans over legitimate criticism. The second question was the one I actually wanted an answer to. And again, did I ever get one? Cody responds to the PR tweet with, "What's up, friend?" Right off the bat, condescending prick. I'm not your friend. I respond, why are you so sensitive? And then I follow that up with, also, why did you lie about the racism stuff with Brandi? Multiple people looked into it and found no racist tweets. Cody responds, that's disgusting. To deny somebody's experience is a huge problem in our world, beyond the wrestling bubble. I'd rather choose to flank and support and learn from those experiences. We can disagree on wrestling, but being a fan is universal, as is love. I have no idea where that came from. I respond, you're right. Lying about something to cover for your wife's terrible reaction to AEW heels and valid criticism is disgusting. You should both do better. People caught on to Cody's tricks here, and they weren't fooled. Cody tried to make it sound like I said Brandi was never the victim of any type of racism ever, and in doing so, low-key made me sound like a racist, when I was very clearly speaking about his allegations of racist tweets that never happened. Twitter user @RyanOWrestling replied, he never said she wasn't racially abused ever. I've heard you both talk about how you're looked down upon for being an interracial couple, which is obviously disgusting and indefensible. But to act like that was the criticism she got about the heels thing is simply untrue. Sure, I got some hate. But what I was most surprised about was the overwhelming amount of support I got. I think people are tired of the AEW executives claiming the moral high ground while at the same time throwing temper tantrums, insulting, and talking down to the very fans they need to survive as a company. Here we have Twitter user @Smilek2997 who says it's sad that they're literally lying about her experiencing racism at that time, with no proof, and everyone who isn't on Cody's dick has openly said they haven't seen any racist shit. He continues with, and then AEW dick riders get upset when we ask for genuine proof of it happening at that time. Then they try to spin it and say some shit like, you're basically saying if there's no proof, then racism doesn't exist, which isn't even close. A recent follower of mine had a fantastic suggestion for the Rhodes and AEW. Here we have Twitter user @ZVArmy who says AEW execs embarrassing themselves on the daily on here. Hire a fucking PR company or something, for Christ's sake. Now, not everyone agreed with my take, and that's to be expected. My only real issue is that the criticisms I got about my question to Cody oftentimes included things I didn't say at all, almost like they were addressing something they read elsewhere. Here's an example. We start things off here with Twitter user @jfinley13 who says, regardless of whether the word was used, you are absolutely crazy if you think Brandi Rhodes doesn't get more vitriol due to the fact that she is a woman of color. Learn about intersectionality. It is real, and the fact people spent hours trying to discount that is pathetic. He continues, is everyone who criticized her racist and or sexist? Of course not, but that doesn't mean that the quantity and quality of the response wasn't affected by racism and sexism. How much crap did Khan get, or any of the executive vice presidents? Very little in comparison. Wonder why. Ryan O. Wrestling responds, because she was the person who announced it, and she's the person seemingly running it. No point complaining to Khan or the executive vice presidents about it if they have nothing to do with it. Not everything is about race. And then I chime in at the bottom here, I say, I'll state this here. Brandi's race had absolutely nothing to do with the criticisms I had. Cody was the only one who made this about race. I have no interest in race-based arguments, as they are often unproductive and dishonest, as we saw with Cody's shameful display. Speaking of shameful displays, if you go and look up anybody I featured in this video and look at their timeline, their tweets are all still up, except for one person. Now, who do you think that might be? Well, if you guess Cody Rhodes, congratulations! You're absolutely right. Twitter user @GavinMaloney4 tweeted this screenshot at me, to which I responded, big man called Bryan an NXT stan and deleted it. Your social media strategy is quite impressive, @Cody Rhodes. But that wasn't the only tweet Cody deleted that day. No, sir. He also deleted another tweet. Let's take a look. Well, wouldn't you know it, the second tweet he deleted was the one where he tried to low-key make me sound like a racist. I didn't take too kindly to this, and I said, well, how cute. I wonder why he deleted them. Fuck you, Cody Rhodes. Now, before all of this happened, Cody Rhodes was one of the only things about AEW that I actually liked. I've gotten more than a few tweets from people who are truly disappointed in the way Cody has been conducting himself on social media. Here's two examples. We begin first with @Celtic_Spike, who says, I want AEW to succeed, but right now they are pushing me away. Between this fiasco, the state of the women's division, and the mishandled tourney, if Jericho wrestles tomorrow without any statement around his shows and assurance he has been tested and cleared since, I'm done. And second, we have @star_Jordan_ who says, it sucks because I actually like AEW, but if you don't suck their dick on a post, or worse, even dare to criticize them, they'll throw a tantrum. It's actually pathetic. As was expected, I lost a few followers because of my interaction with Cody Rhodes. AEW fans, as I mentioned, are very sensitive, so when I noticed my follower count going down, I knew I was on the right track. I wasn't the only one losing followers over AEW. Now, you remember @ZVArmy? She was the nice person who suggested that maybe AEW needs a PR team. She began losing followers as well. She posted the following tweet. AEW marks unfollowing me now? I guess they want to live in an echo chamber where they can pretend everyone likes the crap they choose to watch. Yes! That's exactly what they want. As I was recording the voiceovers for this video, Brandi Rhodes broke her silence and explained exactly why she deactivated her Twitter account. I just think that right now there are other things that need my attention a lot more. I'm focusing on heels, which Friday we had our first members-based event. It was extremely successful. It's nice to come together in a community of women that really appreciated it and enjoyed it. We had a really great time on Friday night. It was nice to put my energy into that. My energy is also going into the Women's Tag Team Cup tournament. It has been a really nice weekend to put all my time and energy into what I want to be focusing on right now. But wait a minute, not a single mention of racism. No N-bombs to be found, which only further confirms what I stated earlier. Cody Rhodes is full of shit. To understand the cult-like mentality of the AEW faithful, all you really need to do is look at the people they idolize. From Tony Khan, to Cody, to Brandi, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega. All of them have shown that they have difficulty accepting and dealing with constructive criticism. I understand that they get a lot of hate on social media, but so does everyone else. I also understand that they definitely receive more hate than most of us, but they're also public figures running a company. AEW executives have made their fans promises, and the people are starting to get restless. They won't wait forever. Putting a tournament on your YouTube channel is a step, but it's a step that is almost meaningless as it's not what the fans want, and it's certainly not what AEW promised them. The fans want to see the women AEW told us were amazing for more than 3 minutes at a time on TV. As for my run-in with Cody Rhodes, I think I already summed it up as best I could on Twitter the day he and I spoke. A white guy low-key called me a racist, and now other white guys are in my mentions being very mad about something that never happened. Peak 2020. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of It's Still Real to Them. Nothing like executive vice presidents trying to race bait you in your mentions, am I right? Happens every day. Next week is episode 10 and the finale for this second season of the series. The topic? JD from NY. You'll definitely want to check this one out. I'm not a fan of his. Also, I haven't forgotten about the 2-part video I plan on doing on the speaking out movement that just got bumped into season 3. If you enjoyed the video and the things that I do here on the channel and you'd like to see these videos a little bit early, consider signing up to the Patreon. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.